What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if Demon's Souls on the PS5 is too hard. Now, I like to do these videos for really games in the Souls, the From Software franchise, because as of when I'm recording this, I'm actually kind of proud of the internet, because as of when I'm recording this, there hasn't been any outrageous statements or like from a journalist or somebody like that, which it normally is from like a quote-unquote gaming journalist, complaining about the game being too difficult. And so this is a good opportunity to talk about games being too hard, that kind of situation in general. I'll come out and say it right now. I do not think Demon's Souls is too hard. I've never been on the boat of when any of these, when Sekiro came out, or Sekiro, whichever one. And I always say, whenever I say that word, I always get it wrong. Even if I say both of them, people still tell me I'm wrong. So you can tell me how to say it in the comments. But when that game came out, when Bloodborne came out, when Dark Souls 3 came out, there is always a push, seemingly, from the gaming journalists. And then I guess you get people online. I'm not saying like people don't exist that say these things, but that the game is way too hard and that the game should have an easy mode, right? We've had that being pushed around as well. Look, I am a supporter of, if you want to play a game, play the game. I mean, I'm a big guy in like personal liberty and like personal freedom, that you have the choice. You have choices in this world, and things are up to you, okay? I'm a big believer in that. I'm a big supporter in that. But let me tell you, I'm also a big supporter of, when you make a game, or when you do anything, when you make any piece of media, you're making it because you're making it, and your decisions are your decisions. And if people like them, they like them. If people don't like them, they don't like them. And it's up to that person, by the way, to judge it and act accordingly to whatever they want. So, like, should anybody be allowed to play Demon's Souls? I mean, anybody can actually play Demon's Souls. You buy the game, you click X, and then you start playing. And anybody can do, literally anybody can do that, right? But the question is, like, does it need to appeal? Does it need to, I guess the word is accessible. Does it need to be accessible for everybody? Well, I am happy with the way the gaming industry has moved. I don't have a disability, so I'm not going to like pretend like I do, or pretend like I know what it's like. But I mean, you've seen it with like The Last of Us. You've seen it with a lot of games, actually closer to like the end of this year, having a lot of different accessibility options, right? For people that have, whether they're colorblind or whether they, whatever their situation is, games are getting better. And that's great. And I think that there's a place for games like that. But I also think there's a place for games like Demon's Souls, where I really do. Again, like when I'm recording this, nobody said anything, but I truly do think over the weekend that will change. I think somebody will come out and say, that this is a game this game is just way too hard, or why isn't there a different kind of mode to it? Again, now I guess From Software, but now Blue Point remaking it, right? It's their decision to do whatever they want. If they make the game too difficult, don't play it. You know what I mean? Games aren't made for everybody. And I think that, and I've seen that around the internet before, and I actually think that is the right approach to it. You're not, this world, you shouldn't expect that everything is going to be down your alley. Can you complain about everything? Sure. You can complain about everything. You can love everything. You can do whatever. But not everything is going to go down your alley. I always use the example when I talk about like things going woke or things like that, and I talk about like Charlie's Angels. It's probably like one of the better examples of just a disaster of a situation, right? The 2019 movie. I mean, I can say two things. Like, I can go down the complaining and talking about why it's a bad movie and talking about why it failed and talking about the way they did it with the women and all that stuff. And while they could be factual and while they could be just true, they could be right, I can also say that the movie's not made for me. I'm not, a younger, early to mid 20-year-old man is not going to see Charlie's Angels, right? I can separate that as well from my criticism. So for Demon's Souls, or again, this is not even just, this is a good example. This is a good time to talk about these things, because this always comes up when you have a Neo or when you have just a difficult game in general. It always comes up that, like, should you make it? Basically, should you transform it into a different game for people that can't handle the base game? And the answer is no. The answer is you make the game that you want to make, and if it doesn't have an easy mode, if it doesn't have an accessible mode, if it doesn't have whatever, that's just the situation. You can, I guess, complain about it all you want, but to demand, and again, I get nobody's demanding yet on Demon's Souls, but to demand that these games add those modes to them is ridiculous. I don't play like the hardest games in the world, although I will say some of the games I've platinumed are very, very difficult. I guess I'll gloat or like pat myself on the back. I've platinumed games like Resogun, Velocity 2X. Velocity 2X, I think, is one of the hardest games to 100%. And I did. I'm actually one of like very, very few people that platinum that game. Sound Shapes is a really hard game. So again, I don't play like, and I get that those are kind of different games even than these Souls games. Like Dark Souls 2 is much different than Velocity 2X or Next Machina or Resogun, right? They're different games. But I'll tell you, like, you would take away from what those games are if you added an easy mode. Or if in Velocity 2X, after I spent like, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 hours 100%ing not getting hit in a single level, all that kind of stuff, and then you told me that like, well, just play it, you don't have to do that, just play it on the easy mode. I mean, that kind of takes away from the game. And I think that's where it kind of rings the loudest, is that these games are built around difficulty. I mean, okay, there's more to Demon's Souls than the difficulty. I know people really appreciate the lore of these games, the characters, or even like the models, like the different variations of the boss fights, right? But again, those are still fighting stuff. So I would argue that the basic grabbing feature of hard games, quote unquote, is the fact that they're hard, is the fact that the gameplay is the most like appealing thing, that you may die, you may hate that you die, you may throw your controller out a window, but that's the whole point. I mean, I'm actually a good example of that. I get furious. I actually put up with platinuming Resogun and playing Next Machina and getting like top 5 on the leaderboards and stuff like that. And those games are hard, and those games made me mad, but I didn't like do anything drastic, right? I didn't even like rage quit or anything. These games, Demon's Souls, Dark Souls, Bloodborne, these games actually make me mad. These games, I sometimes get to a point I say, you know what? I cannot do it. I need to turn this thing off. Maybe I'll come back to it tomorrow. But I know to expect that. It's part of the experience. I know, and I've said this before in past videos. I actually think I said this in the beginner's guide for Demon's Souls. I know I'm not good at this game. I know I'm not good at any of these games, but I buy them. I buy I've either bought them or I've played them like at a friend's house or something. I've played every single Souls game or From Software game that's come out. And I don't make it very far. In fact, I've never once beaten any of these games. I've never even made it, I'd say, more than halfway through any of these games. But that's the whole point. I don't actually think the majority of people that play these games actually do make it to the end. I think a lot of them don't. That's why there's guides. That's why there are guides of how to beat bosses, because they're so difficult, right? But that's what makes the game special. If you change that, and I get it, you're saying, well, we don't want you to change, in case there's any accessibility people that want that added here in the comments, right? They could say, well, we don't want you to change it. We want you to add like the feature to it. Well, that takes time. You could argue it's unnecessary. And I think, again, like the biggest argument I would have against that would be, like, not every game is for you. I get saying, well, I really, really want to play this game, but I know I'm not going to make it very far, and I would want to play it so I can get all the way through the end. But some games are just designed like that. You know what I mean? Some games are just like that. Not every game is meant, again, for every single I know I'm not good at Call of Duty. I don't get every Call of Duty game, and when I do, I don't play them very much, right? I know that they're not necessarily for me. Do I say that they should add extra things so that I can play it? No. And another thing, not to get too political or not to get too conspiracy on you, but one thing that is important to note too is when we talk about additions and then changes, that's always the path it goes. Even like in society, you always get, well, don't change anything, but like modify it a little bit, but nothing too drastic, because we don't want to drastically change the outlook of whatever you're talking about, right? And this, again, could go through history. But then when that happens, it's never enough. And I think that is, to me, also, and it's not really, actually, I've never heard anybody talk about that kind of aspect to it. It's not even just the fact that not every game needs to be playable to every single person. That's just not the way it is. There are going to be games that sometimes people just won't play, and that's okay. That's okay. But once you start changing things or altering things or whatever, once you start adding things, the next thing up is that that's not enough, and now we need to change them. So now, 5 years from now, okay, well, we've added accessibility modes, but maybe we should just take out the difficulty altogether, because in reality, 10% of the people make it through. Not really necessary. Don't you want everybody? So, and then maybe they say, well, we can't, from a developer point of view, they say, well, we can't make this insanely difficult game with all these mechanics and then also have an accessible option. And then people say, okay, well, just take out the point of the game, take out the main part of the game, and just have the accessible. And so that's how it goes. That's how actually all of it goes. You give an inch, they take a mile. That's the line, right? So that's really what I see with these. You can see it all throughout. It's a thing with certain kinds of characters in games. Again, not to get too political, and I have nothing wrong with including diversity or including this character, that character, playing as this character, that character. I love playing as any character as long as the character is good. But you'll sometimes see that too, where a character will say, well, why doesn't this game have any kind of this character? And then they'll put that character in the game, like in a future installment or whatever, or a different game altogether. But then they'll complain, well, they don't have enough lines. Well, you put them in. You were asking to put them in. Now you want them to be the main lead. And then when they're the main lead, they'll say, well, they weren't exactly developed as well as that other lead. And it's like, well, maybe the other lead was like you know what I mean? That's what happens. That's literally how things work in this world of, again, you give them a little bit and then they take your entire arm, right? That's really how it works. So, again, could say pointless video. I would disagree because I think that we'll probably see articles pop up over the next couple days talking about difficulty, and I'm sure we'll have those people crying in the streets. But let me know in the comments below, guys. What do you think? Do you think this game is too hard? Do you agree with what I'm saying about kind of the future of difficult games? Let me know. As always, make sure you guys are subscribed to this channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. If you guys want to support me in other places, I have a Twitter, Podcast Now 15. I have a Discord server. I have a second channel called Podcast Now Plus. All three of those links are in the description below if you guys want to check that out. Again, I would be much appreciated. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all on the next video.